You know, your bathroom is probably one of the busiest rooms in your entire house. But what if it's also hiding some pretty big secrets? We're talking about costly problems that could be growing right now, completely out of sight. It's kind of a scary thought, isn't it? But it's one we really need to consider, because behind those tiles, under that sink, there could be some slow, silent damage happening this very moment. And here's the wild part. This kind of major damage, it almost always starts small. It usually comes down to 5 very common, simple mistakes that let moisture sneak in and just wreak havoc, causing things like mold and even structural rot. So let's break down exactly what those are. All right, let's get right into it. We're going to uncover the top 5 ways moisture gets into places it should never be, which, trust me, leads to some serious headaches later on. First up is something you've definitely seen, but probably underestimated just how important it really is. And that is the caulking. Yeah, that little bead of silicone that runs along your tub and your sink, it does way more than you think. Think of that caulk line as the bodyguard for your walls. It's not just a cosmetic touch, it's a critical waterproof barrier. The second it starts to shrink or crack, water slips behind it, gets trapped, and creates this perfect, dark, damp place for mold to just thrive. Okay, let's move on to our second culprit. This one is, quite literally, in the air. Now, the steam from a hot shower isn't the real villain here. The problem is what happens when all that hot, humid air has nowhere to go. Trapped humidity, that is the real enemy. So, how do you know if you've got a problem? Well, your bathroom is probably sending you some signals. If your mirror is still fogged up an hour after you shower, or you're seeing paint starting to peel up near the ceiling, your bathroom is basically screaming that it can't breathe. The fix is so easy. Just run your exhaust fan for at least 15 minutes after every single shower. Make it a habit. And that brings us to mistake number 3. This one is a classic case of out of sight, out of mind. We've all seen it, right? That tiny, slow drip from the pipe under the sink. It seems so harmless, so easy to just ignore and say you'll get to it later. But that small leak is causing damage over time. This is so true. That little drip starts a huge domino effect. First, it softens the drywall. Then, mold sees a perfect new home and moves in. Before you know it, the subfloor beneath your feet could be rotting away, all from one little drip you ignored. This is why you've got to take a flashlight and check under your sinks and behind the toilet at least once a month. Okay, on to number 4. And this one's especially for anybody who's done some DIY work or maybe you're planning a bathroom reno. Your bathroom is a totally unique environment, right? It's basically a humidity chamber, so you absolutely cannot use the same materials you'd use in your living room. Standard products just aren't designed to handle that much moisture. Here's a perfect example of what to use versus what to avoid. Standard drywall and regular interior paint, they act like sponges. They just soak up moisture, which is basically an all-you-can-eat buffet for mold. You have to use materials specifically made for wet areas, like mold-resistant drywall, sometimes called green board, and special bathroom-rated paints. And now for our final mistake, and this one might just be the most overlooked step of them all. So you just spent a ton of money on a beautiful bathroom renovation. The new tile looks incredible. But if the tile, the grout, and all the corners aren't properly sealed, the job is not finished. Sealing is the final step that locks moisture out and protects your entire investment. Okay, we've gone through all the problems. It's a little intimidating, I know. But here's the good news. Preventing all of this is actually really simple. So let's flip the script and talk solutions. Let's talk about your proactive defense plan. It all comes down to 4 basic habits. 1, keep it dry. Wipe down the shower walls after you use them. 2, maintain airflow. Use that fan religiously. 3, inspect regularly. Once a month, just do a quick check on your caulking and under the sinks. And 4, clean smart. Use mild cleaners that won't degrade your silicone seals. See? Simple habits, but they have a huge impact. So why are we talking about this so much? Well, let's get down to the bottom line. Let's talk about money, because this is where prevention really pays off. I mean, just let that sink in. A minor, inexpensive fix, something that might cost you $150 in an afternoon, could literally save you thousands of dollars in catastrophic repairs down the line. There it is, right there, $4,850. That's the difference. That is the literal cost of waiting. It's the price you pay for ignoring those small warning signs we just talked about. So I'll leave you with this final thought. What is one simple 10-minute check that you could do in your bathroom today? Not tomorrow, today. Maybe you could check the caulking around the tub or grab a flashlight and peek under the sink. Because that tiny action, that 10 minutes, could be the very thing that saves you a fortune tomorrow.